Welcome to everyone for Penesta Dika's online conference about Herbert Franke's art, image processing system, and programming, mathematical formulas in art, into the international program New Media for Teacher, organized by Cultural Ring in Uruguay and its global networks. Greetings to you all, friends, acquaintances, and newcomers to Cultural Ring. Today, the conference is in English, but one day after the event, you will be on Cultural Ring YouTube channel, subtitled in more than 15 languages. For me, it is an honor to curate the contents of this conference, which once again enrich the training program. Why it is an honor to host this lecture? For two reasons: because it will present the artistic work of a pioneer of new media, Herbert Franke, and because they will be presented by an expert in his work, Professor Penesta Dika. Also, in a personal level, I had the honor to meet Franke at a conference at Ars Electronica in Linz in 2018. Therefore, from Uruguay and the international program New Media for Teachers, this conference is a humble memorial tribute to a multiple creator. Penesta has researched the work of such a multifaceted profile as Herbert Franke, who was a pioneer and outstanding in different areas, not only in new media art, for instance, as a German language science fiction writer, in philosophy, speleology, journalism, among others. I will give a brief introduction of Professor Penesta Dika so that you can see the background and career of our special invitee. Penesta Dika lectures academic publication practice, media art history, and artistic scientific research method at the master programs of the University of Arts in Linz, Austria, and the University of Applied Science, St. Pölten in Austria, and of UBT in Pristina, Kosovo. She works as curator in Vienna, developing curatorial concepts based on the latest researches of artificial intelligence, virtual reality, telerobotics, and synesthesia. She did collaboration with the Academy of Science in Austria in digital humanities, which were presented at Ars Electronica Festival at the European Researchers' Night in Vienna, or were published in form of manifestos artistic researches. Her artistic creations involve researches about chaos and order, fractal rules, involve social issues about climate change, and researches about the usage of technology in art. She also established the styles of art, media didactics, and big data is supported by the Academy of Science in Austria in digital humanities. She was, and she is, member of the International Program Committee ISEA 2020 in Montreal, Canada, and ISEA 2023 in Paris. Penesta Dika studied art history at the University of Vienna and obtained her PhD on the field of interface culture and on media art histories at the Linz University of Art in Austria. Her master's thesis, Die Computerkunst Herbert Franke, was published in book forms in 2007 in honor of Herbert Franke's 80th birthday. Her dissertation thesis was also published as a book, Interactive Digital Art, Visual Motives and Their Meaning, in Berlin, 2017. We invite our audience to leave question and comment for Penesta on the Cultural Ring YouTube and Facebook Live channels. Once again, welcome Penesta Dika, and go ahead with your conference. Thank you so much.
So, hello. Do you hear me, Delma? Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
I can
Thank
hear
you
you.
very much. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here today with you and to present this thesis that means very much to me, actually. Is one of the first theses that I have researched in the area of digital art. At the time, on 1999 till 2003 was this kind of research done. And yes, for today, as you already said, I've prepared to speak about Herbert Franke's art. I will speak a little bit about image processing systems and mathematical formulas. And here you see Herbert Franke. This is one picture that I like very much of him because it has been done on the day as we met for the last time. Unfortunately, Franke died this year. He was born on 1927. Many of you have already heard that he's a pioneer in digital art, but he's also author of science fiction novels, and he's also a researcher of caves and caving. Many of us didn't know that before. He's also a co-founder of Ars Electronica Festival in Linz in Austria. This is a big annual event that combines art and technology, and it is actually worldwide known. So here we see one very early artwork of Franke. It's an oscillograph from 1956. This is to show that Franke was making art with every kind of emerging technology. And oscillograph is a device for making a record of the waves forms of voltage or current. And he used it for art, as you see it here. And this was created on an analog computing system. If you see the next graphic, it's an electronic graphic from 1961-62. He did a series. So thank you. Yes, and I was speaking about his artwork that he did with oscillographs. And as I said, this is a device for recording waveforms of fluctuating voltages or currents. And he did this artwork with an analog computing system. This is from 1956. Then electronic graphic from 1961. It is an early electronic artwork, and it is an analog graphic also, and was visualized with Siemens devices, which Franke used at that time. Then I come to the dragon curves, 1970. Franke used the Siemens computer to create this program Dracula, the Syria Dracula. Mathematical theories of dragon curves were used to create a variation of fractals in this case. And we have to do here with a kind of early computer art, which is characterized firstly by representing lines. Here we have an example of Dracula with constructive lines. And what we see here next is another artwork to compare of also a computer pioneer, Frieder Nake. Here what we see are those first computer graphics always characterized with constructive lines. And in Franke's, we see more also the symmetry and also a little bit the ornamentality, which will later be more important in other works. And in Nake, we see, in the artwork of Nake, we see kind of chaotic order, so to say. Here, just to show shortly how a computer looked like at this time or a little bit before. This is EDSAC, Electronic Delay Storage Automatic Calculator from 1949. And that means that a computer was so big like a room, so to say. And here I have an element that was used on 80s, or maybe also before 80s, punch card. You could save the program in this. Every sign, each hole here is a piece of information. And so this was the way how a program was written at the time. And I remember very well these cards. I played with them as a child. So this is what I included them today in this presentation. Then, as I said, dragon curves. He did through dragon curves. It gets denser and denser, and he created here a fractal, as you see it. And here we see another fractal that Franke created. He called it seahorse study. And I have found a comparable example from another artist, Laff and Norton. It's called Fractal Dragon from 1982. It was a little bit earlier. And it was included in the book of Mandelbrot. And I know that Franke did many cooperations with Mandelbrot. He told me that in an interview. Then we see here how classical typical fractal looks like. They were invented by Benoit Mandelbrot, and we see here repeated shapes, endlessly repeated shapes. They create endless patterns and are characterized by this self-similarity. Here we see fractals in our everyday life, because those geometric shapes actually, although they were invented so later, they are the most common geometrical shapes in nature. And we see them, for instance, in clouds, or you see these shapes, repeatedness of that in smaller and smaller, getting smaller and smaller in the trees, or we see a very beautiful example here of fractals in vegetables. Then a very known example is the example how to measure the cost of Britain. It is a publication, actually. And we have here, for instance, a try with fuzzy measurements. And then between two lines, we make smaller and smaller points between lines. And then the distances get smaller, and so emerges a fractal dimension. This is how to explain the easiest way to understand what a fractal is. So besides fractals, we have to say that the artist, as I said at the beginning of computer art, it was possible to create lines. So many artists did programs that imitated a kind of painting of Mondria, for example, in this case, Piet Mondria. Michael Noll, an example of Michael Noll, of Charles Csuri, and this is a painting of Mondria. And you see this horizontal, vertical presentation of lines, the density, etc. So there are many parameters that a program could create. So this were, so to say, the technological possibilities at that time to create lines. So the artists that used this, then they did what they could for that time. Then we see what Franke did. He actually did this a little bit later. It's 1980. He also created a program called Mondrian. And we see here main elements of Mondrian mixed. And this is represented in contrast to neoplasticism that Mondria has established. This is an example of Piet Mondria. very famous one. And this is what Franke realized with his program on 1980. We see here again that he used the main colors, for instance, like red, yellow, and blue, or he used a black orthogonal grid like Mondrian did. But here we have shapes that makes us think that these shapes are going to be developed till the infinite. And actually, neoplasticism was based in very strict rules for creation. And the artwork of Franke takes some elements of Mondrian, but creates, so to say, an own Mondrian artwork. Let me show you here a video of it shortly, because it's very interesting. This was also combined with some sounds at the time when it was created. So it was 1979 for this program. So then, of course, he took sequences of this, and these sequences were then presented as separately artworks. Then another thing, another program that Franke used was Case, comes from Coven aesthetic. It means aesthetic curves. This is now already a digital computer graphic. We see here algebraic curves, and this was Franke's first digitally produced graphic. In this case, the computer program generated and manipulated curves, and the parameters could be changed. So, for instance, could be enlarged or could be length, the curves, and this is the way how he created this series. Yes, together with Peter Hehne on 1969. Then another program that Franke used was DIBIAS, Digital Interactive Bavarian Image Analysis System. This was actually used for German Aerospace Research and Testing Institute, and Franke, and also together with Horst Helbig, used this for artistic purposes in this case. We have to do here with picture processing. Realistic or non-realistic images were taken and were processed, and from them were created those artworks. In this case, we see again fractals. There are many images that Franke created with those rules. And in contrast to this was also created with DIBIAS. In contrast to fractals, he used here fourier-transformations. And through this, now we see here more amorphous shapes, liquid shapes that he created on 1985 to 86. Then another element that characterizes some artworks of Franke is also optical illusion, so-called Moirés effect. This is this kind of wells. This artwork is called logic algebra. And here I have a photo, which I think could have been an inspiration in this case, because Franke had many inspirations from the science, because as Delma said, he was also a scientist. So if you see these two images, then you can see those shapes that are comparable with each other. And this is only a photo made from an electron microscope, made with an electron microscope. Then another program that Franke created was Bildspeicher N, image storage N, used for evaluation of medical images. This was one of the first methods for picture processing. In this case, a picture of Albert Einstein was digitized and transformed. And at the end, he presented this as animated presentation. It is called Electronic-Einstein from 1972-73. So here I have a comparative example from, it is a medical computer image, just a simple medical computer image. And you can see here a shape that's very similar, reminds of this computer image. This is a part of Electronic-Einstein, a detail of Electronic-Einstein. Here, let us see the animation that Franke did. So what we perceive here is the fact that the portrait was reduced more and more and more, and at the end, it gets to an abstract image at all. So, okay, let me go further. Here, another artwork that Franke created with DIBIAS, images from the series Mona Lisa. So he also did here a picture processing. And I had compared it here with Lowenberg. It is a video tomographical image created 1984, and there are some similarities that you can perceive in the presentation. Then this is a programmed artwork. This is a contrast to the process, to those image processing that Franke used, because this artwork of Charles Csuri of 1967 already, this was a programmed artwork. So there are no images behind of this. It's just a computer program. Then an example of Lillian Schwartz. She did another combination with Mona Lisa. Many artists did this, of course. We see here a half-half presentation, for instance. But for Franke, as we see, it was more important the colors, the arrangement, how much you can see, how much it is going to be abstract, and such factors. Then we have to do here with computer drawing. It is a kind of, they were programmed so ups and downs, and mathematical landscapes, as Franke called them, were created. So to say they were programmed. Franke did this again together with Horst Helbig on 1985. And of course, you can imagine that you see here, for instance, some houses, or you see some hills, or you see maybe sun here, sunny day. So I liked it very much, as Franke explained me once as we met how he is creating. He told me that he do so much artworks, but then he selects, he say, no, this is good and this is not good. And this is how I personally define computer art. At the moment when you select and when you know what you want, what you are expecting and what you think that is art, then it is art. But it's not just do it and I don't know what will come and I will take it for granted. It's you select and you know what you want to have. So I think Franke did this also all the time. Then I have here two other comparative examples of Yoichiro Kawaguchi, for instance, also a very well-known artist. It's an abstract landscape of 1984, or Vladimir Nabokov, 1985, and this is also the graphic mathematical landscapes of Franke of 1985. And we see here three different characters, so to say, because here we already see 3D kind of 3D presentations. We see a kind of background, a kind of foreground, and here we see something atmospheric presentation. And in Franke's artwork, it's just everything very reduced, and we see and perceive lines. It's very graphical, etc. It is called Syncode. Then another program that is actually very important one, because it's one of the first programs that was interactive at the time. It is called Forest, Wald, and Franke created this on 1983. Here we see lines and triangles which are distributed over the surface, and you could change parameters from a keyboard, like you could change proportions, you could change the colors, and every time through a new initialization, you got then new results. And it could be, the artwork at the time was saved in a floppy disk. So now we are coming to a very difficult theme to preserving and presenting and conserving such artworks. This is a big problem, big issue in the media art history. Yes. So, and here we have, for instance, an example of very famous German artist, Ernst Ludwig Kirchner. He also did here a landscape. It was realized in 1925-26. And what we see here is a kind of, in Franke's artwork, we see a kind of geometric abstraction, we can say, and unreal colors actually are in both present, but Franke's artwork was done to have a joyful, a playful character. And it was very important at the time that visitors could create by themselves. And this was something very, very new at the time. So this is, as I said, one of the first interactive digital artworks in this area. And this is, these are some images, math art called, which Franke did for an NFT platform. And this shows us that Franke didn't stop till the end of his life using technology for creating art. And in this case, we see that he was always in trend with technology. And he did this, I think, last year. So he presented in NFT platform, these artworks. And yes, this is it. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me, and please, Delma.
Thank you, Penesta. I'd like to ask regarding the relation between mathematical formulas, speleology or speleological space, medical images that you depicted, and his Franke manipulations of many things depicting the nature of the digital field. I would like your reflection regarding that. For instance, you shared the Yoichiro Kawaguchi artworks, and Yoichiro invented techniques to shape the space and movement. What do you think about that regarding Franke's legacy?
Yeah, I think that Franke actually, he programmed very much by himself, everything by himself. He already also used some programs, as I said, that were done before and adapted for his needs to create art. And I think that he knew very well what he wants to get as a result. So for me, this is the meaning of computer art. It's not that you were creating something and suddenly you become something that you like or don't like, but it is, you have it in your mind, you have the idea, and you know which kind of apparatus do you need to do this kind of art. So I think that Franke did very much in this direction, with programming, with mathematical formulas, with combining them in the artistic world. I think that these creations are very unique.
Okay. I would like to share with you that Monica Fleischmann sent greetings to you and congratulations for your lecture. Monica Fleischmann is a pioneer in new media art, and thank you so much for sharing the activity in your profile, Monica. I would like to point out maybe another one point of view. Penesta shared that we realized that the history of pioneers in any areas have one thing in common, that is the difficulty to be recognized at the moment that they are realizing their innovations. Likely, Franke lived many years, passed away last July, and in his last year, he had a recognition of his pioneer work. I would like to ask about this kind of process in his life.
Yeah. Firstly, thank you very much to Monica Fleischmann. She's also a pioneer in the field of virtual reality. I know very well her artworks in this field. Yes, it was very hard for him because he created so much, but actually I think he did only 3 personal exhibitions at the end. And this is actually a pity, because it was definitely very, very, very difficult to come through, to present everywhere like other artists that create with analog medias does. And I think this is not only a problem for Franke, but also for many other artists in this area. Also for me as an art historian, it was very difficult to come through with such a theme, to write about an artist that created with digital media. This was also a big problem, because actually we didn't learn at the university about digital art. So it was for me also very difficult, this area, to go through this area. And I hope that in the future the artist will be more recognized, their work will be more recognized, because actually this is only another medium that artists use for presenting their intuition. So I think it is very important to be recognized in the future as, let me say, normal traditional artists, and to be more included in every kind of concept in the curatorial world.
Thank you, Penesta. To wrap up the conference, I would like to ask you regarding the last years of Franke. Which are his thoughts about the new media field and the digital humanities?
So for Franke, he was, as I said, always maybe 10 or 20 years before all others. He was always thinking in the future, and here was always important the integration of the technology in his thoughts. And I already read before 2 or 3 days that he is now already being seen as a kind of inventor of the metaverse at that time. So I don't know what to say more. He was always before many other artists. So this is what he did also in the last years. He was, and he was always working. So this is a very interesting characteristic of him.
Yes, he attended to the celebration in the 40th anniversary of Ars Electronica as well. It was incredible. He was the co-founder of the festival, and he can attended the.
After 50 years, he was there again. So amazing, amazing.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much, Penesta, for your lecture. It was a summary regarding a magnificent profile that Herbert Franke is your first lecture in Cultural Ring. We want that not the last. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, for sharing your online presence and your generosity with the international program. And remember that this lecture is in English, but one day after this event, you have the subtitle in many languages for our global and local audiences. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Delma. Thank you for the opportunity to be your guest.
It's a pleasure for us and an honor really for your activity and for a humble memorial to Franke. Thank you
very much. Thank you.
Thank you to you.